For human beings, our end is inevitable. From the moment we're born, humans are on the clock. And of course there's growth, but there is also decline. It's a bit different for the Transformers. They do age, but their clock runs longer. Like a lot longer. Millions of years longer, and then some. So seeing a Transformer pass away of old age is very rare, though there have been some iconic old-coded Transformers in the franchise. So the way we as the audience encounter death in Transformers is through their ceaseless civil war. Borderline part of the fun of Transformers is the way they are destroyed because they're kinda difficult to kill. Transformers are robotic beings made of living metal, so they can take some insane damage and still function, leading to incredibly unique and terrifying ways of destroying these characters. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the tragic, horrific, and brutal demise of many different Transformers in different universes. If you enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing so I can defeat Algorithm and turn him into a cube. Transformers the movie is the first Transformers movie and came out in 1986. Part of the movie's mission was to reset the status quo of the Transformers by introducing a whole bunch of new characters, as well as new toys of these characters. The movie may have been the first time they designed characters before the toys, because all the toys up until then had been imported from different Japanese toy lines, with the characters in the show being based off of those toys. Since Hasbro wanted to sell some new dudes, some of the old dudes had to be pushed out. And how did they choose to do that? Why, horrifically murdering all your childhood heroes, of course. I'm sure you know this is the movie where Optimus Prime straight up dies 30 minutes into the film, giving thousands of children trauma and creating completely normal fans in the community. But come on, man, the way he dies isn't even that bad. Did Hot Rod do him dirty and get him killed? A lot of people think so, but really he just got blasted and passed on surrounded by friends and family. Sad? Yes. Tragic? Absolutely. But not horrific. Later in the movie, Starscream gets disintegrated, but to be honest, that was mostly funny. No, the horrific death occurs when an Autobot ship is attacked by Decepticons, and beloved characters like Prowl, Ironhide, Ratchet, Wheeljack, and more are killed by the Decepticons. And it's not just that they're killed, these guys are straight up executed. It looks like Prowl is literally melting from the inside with orange smoke escaping his body. The fact that Hasbro thought this would go smoothly is absolutely hilarious. There were newspaper articles talking about how upset children were by these scenes. And here's the great thing about Transformers. In the last few years, Hasbro has put out highly articulated versions of these characters, and then released variant versions of the toys where it's supposed to be the character getting killed in the movie. That's right, you can own Brawn, Ratchet, Ironhide, and Prowl getting absolutely smoked. Look at these boxes, man. Look at the terror in Brawn's face. They didn't have to do my man like that. The worst part is that these aren't even good toys. They're totally mid-sauce versions of the original that just look worse. It would have been cool if they made the battle damage optional in some way, or given extra heads and blast effects of the orange smoke. I'm just saying, if you're gonna make a toy of a dead guy, don't half-ass it. Oh, by the way, they did make a toy of Optimus Prime's dead body as well. It's literally his corpse after all the life has faded away from him. By the way, I may be making fun of it, but us Transformers fans love a good absurd repaint. So I think most people actually love the dead Optimus and Autobots. The corpse collection, if you would. Transformers Animated is my favorite Transformers show, and one of the main reasons is that it knew how to raise the stakes. The Decepticons are massive and feel like true threats. Hell, Starscream even kills Optimus within the first 3 episodes. A new record!
Perfect! KO!
The death I'm about to reference happens later in the story and involves a huge twist. So if you haven't seen Animated, I highly recommend watching it and maybe skipping this section with the chapters function in the description. Okay, so this event happens in the first few episodes of Season 3. At this point, the Autobots on Earth know the Decepticon Shockwave is posing as an unknown Autobot on Cybertron, but they are unable to communicate with Cybertron from Earth, so Blur, an Autobot with the ability of super speed, runs across the galaxy to inform Long Arm Prime that Shockwave is among their ranks. Unfortunately for Blur, Long Arm Prime is Shockwave and immediately tries to destroy Blur. Blur, being Sonic levels of fast, easily gets away, escaping into a tunnel, but Shockwave is able to use a control panel to trap Blur and crushes him, like that Star Wars scene but Blur actually straight up dies. This is one of the moments that cemented Animated as my favorite Transformers show. I was straight up shocked that one of the Autobots, especially one I thought was really cool, actually bit the dust. This episode of Transformers Animated, along with The Walking Dead, is probably the reason I love when shows or movies kill off a character I love. The tragedy of it compels me. Blur is squished into a tiny cube, and Shockwave, disguised as Long Arm Prime, hands it off to Cliffjumper to throw down the trash chute. Blur never shows up again, but there's actually more to his story, though it exists outside of the show itself. Apparently, Blur's spark was supposed to be visible in the cube, but for some reason, a less detailed version of the cube was used. So he was always meant to be alive despite being crushed into a cube, but that detail didn't make it into the show. Blur's story found continuation at a couple of different BotCons in 2011 and 2015. In case you didn't know, BotCon was the premier Transformers convention for a long time, and it was even officially licensed by Hasbro. It was commonplace for each convention to have a theme and a corresponding box set of toys to go along with it. In 2011, the theme of the convention was the Stunticon Job, which was a new comic book introducing the Stunticons into the animated universe. The comic is really awesome. It's basically a buddy cop episode of Transformers Animated, featuring Sideswipe and Cheetor taking down the Stunticons, who disguise themselves as performers while plotting to break Megatron out of prison. Blur doesn't make a major appearance, but in this one panel you can see Cliffjumper, who has the Blur Cube with him. In the show, Cliffjumper clearly dumps it down the trash chute, so how did he get the Blur Cube? It's not explained in this comic, but at BotCon 2015, there was a script reading titled The Return of Blur. This script, which I believe was written for BotCon, takes place around the same time as the Stunticon Job comic, roughly putting it in the same Season 3.5 continuation of the series. In the story, Sari stumbles upon the Blur Cube and accidentally reignites his spark with her Allspark energy. The reunion is cut short when Sari and Blur are attacked by Crimzeek, an energy being made of pure electricity. Shenanigans ensue, but eventually Crimzeek is stopped, and later on Blur's body is restored with the power of the Allspark. Apparently, Cliffjumper took the Blur Cube to the Stunticon show sometime between Crimzeek's defeat and the Autobots restoring his body. There is actually a full video on YouTube of the script reading, so I will be linking that in the description. I guess the question is, are these stories canon? I would say so, at least for Stunticon Job, because Hasbro released a toy of Motormaster, who only ever appeared in that comic book. Plus, the comic and original toy were from a Hasbro sanctioned and supported event. Not to mention, both stories were written by people directly involved with the original Transformers animated cartoon. So I don't know how much more authentic it can really get. Even though Blur technically survived this horrific demise, no extended universe comic could take away the shock I felt when I first watched the episode. The live-action Transformers movies have had their fair share of brutal death scenes. Jazz getting ripped in half, Bumblebee despining Ravage, Lockdown being sliced in half, straight down the middle, all come to mind. But the movie with the most insane robot-on-robot violence has to be Transformers Dark of the Moon. This movie features some of the most iconic death scenes from the live-action movies, where Sentinel Prime reveals he's been working with the Decepticons the whole time, and executes Ironhide with Super Mega Cancer. I feel like the fact that he carries around a Super Mega Cancer gun should have been a red flag, but oh well. Sentinel gets some karmic and equally brutal punishment to Optimus Prime. In my mind, the most horrific and even tragic death in Dark of the Moon is Q's controversy, because he was originally supposed to be named Wheeljack, but at some point it was changed to Q, a reference to the James Bond character. But he's bizarrely listed in the credits as Wheeljack/Q in the credits. People hate the design because, as you can see, he is a strange looking robot, taking the quote-unquote human design elements to a whole new level. He even has a mustache and tufts of hair on the side of his head, designed to invoke Albert Einstein from Troll Dolls, which is probably intentional because no other Transformer has had non-metal hair like he does. This is like the live-action movie equivalent to all the Autobots getting murked in the G1 movie, Horrors of War. Hasbro literally waited as long as humanly possible to release a Studio Series toy of this freaky-ass character, with him only getting a new toy this year, 7 years after the Studio Series series line started. Presumably they were afraid the children would see him in the toy aisle and never return to the Transformers section again. Transformers Prime is one of the most popular Transformers shows that I completely missed. I probably would have watched it, but Hasbro decided to make their own television channel called The Hub, and I didn't have access to it at home. I really think this led to my quote-unquote Transformers Dark Ages, as I call it, where I didn't really return to Transformers in a meaningful way until the War for Cybertron line of toys was released. Though it would be fair to say that I was just growing up and looking into new stuff as kids do. But anyway, Transformers Prime was this amazing looking, super expensive to make cartoon that was riding the hype of the live action Transformers movies. This show is also a fantastic gateway drug to the Transformers mythos because it looks good and feels far more serious than any previous show until that point. They set the serious tone in the first 5 minutes of episode 1. Cliffjumper, voiced by the one and only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is patrolling for Energon when he stumbles upon a quarry full of the stuff. As soon as he finds it though, a Decepticon warship appears from above, and the Decepticon soldiers called Viacons start attacking Cliff. Cliffjumper is a great fighter, but he's totally outnumbered, and the explosive Energon is hit with a stray laser blast, igniting the Energon and blowing Cliffjumper up and leaving him majorly injured. The Viacons drag him away and bring him to Starscream, who swiftly kills him with no mercy whatsoever. This isn't the end for Cliffjumper though. Megatron returns to Earth shortly after this, sharing with Starscream that he had located the mythical Dark Energon. The material is said to raise the dead, and lucky for Starscream, he had the perfect test subject. Megatron stabs the Dark Energon into Cliff's chest, and Cliffjumper is brought back to life as essentially a Transformers zombie, with nothing of his personality left behind. Cliffjumper beats up some Viacons before Megatron slices the Terracon in half. Later, when the Autobots raid this base looking for Cliffjumper, RC finds the top half of his body, which is still alive and zombified. RC is shocked and realizes that the true Cliffjumper is gone. The Autobots leave the base as the volatile Energon within it explodes. The death of Cliffjumper reverberates through the series and especially affects RC, who was Cliffjumper's partner. I also think this is the first big instance of Cliffjumper biting the dust, which became a bit of a meme in the fandom for a while. Of course, despite his 10 minutes of runtime, Hasbro made several Cliffjumper toys, including ones based on his zombified Terrorcon forms. This is like one level better than the corpse Optimus Prime, but jokes aside, it's actually a cool toy. Hasbro was mad disrespectful for releasing an SDCC exclusive Terrorcon Cliffjumper in a box that looked like his zombified head. We did get a Prime Cliffjumper from the Legacy line as well in a Versus 4-pack, packaged along with 3 Decepticons. Fans thought this was really funny since it seems like this pack is set up for Cliffjumper to get killed again in this unfair 3v1. I'm waiting with bated breath for a Terracon repaint of this Legacy figure. I am absolutely smitten with Skybound's Energon Universe line of comics, which started only a couple years ago and has easily become one of my favorite Transformers universes. And the first issue of Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers series is absolutely amazing and catapults you into the action and tone of the series. If you haven't read the issue yet, I highly recommend you read it. Comic books as a medium are completely unappreciated despite being the media that has made Disney and so many other companies billions of dollars. Read this comic so when it gets adapted into an Amazon show in 5 years, you can say you read it first. Jetfire finds the Ark crashed on Earth and activates Teletran 1, a computer system the Transformers use. Jetfire had been deactivated for millions of years before finding the Ark, so he is completely unaware of the ongoing war between the Autobots and Decepticons. So he's excited to see his old friend Starscream is the first to be revived, only for Starscream to immediately blow a deactivated Bumblebee's head off, killing him in his sleep essentially. This is a brutal and shocking kill, destroying one of the most popular characters that has had a strong media presence since 2007 is a big swing, and also reveals this version of Starscream's truly malicious nature as he joyfully destroys B. Much like Cliffjumper in Prime, B's death greatly affects the Autobots, with his name being brought up in heated debates fairly often. Optimus is especially hurt by his death, and I can't wait for a flashback issue showing off their relationship. I just want to be hurt emotionally by this comic book so badly. I think I'm actually mentally ill, but it's cool, we're chilling. The funniest thing about this writing decision is that it happened because Daniel Warren Johnson was very tired of Bumblebee being a main focus in media. He said this in an interview with the Transformers podcast Triple Takeover.
You know, the cast is already so big, and
That's the thing.
you know, and you know me, I love killing off characters.
Well,
This is one of our questions, wasn't it? Yeah. It was
Oh,
like,
are you going to talk to me about Bumblebee?
well, no. Whoa, that was brutal, you know. And I
Oh, you
cried
had to
for
go.
for a week,
That was-
you know.
Amazing. What a way to set the tone.
How do you decide? You know, is there a plan here?
A big part of it goes back to that original kind of thing that I said about bouncing off the walls of the sandbox.
Yeah.
You can kind of see everything because, like, we have social media and forums and YouTube videos. You can you can't necessarily put your finger on the pulse, but you can get an idea with the culture of Transformers. At least before the Skybound thing came out, it's like Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And in the back of my head, I was like, it's time.
Yeah, game over, Bumblebee.
You know, and I also I really don't like the circular designs, the G1 Bumblebee cartoon, of his arm, you know, I just don't, I didn't want to draw it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, if I don't want to draw it, I'll just kill him.
Just kill him.
It was a practical decision.
Recently, a variant for the 10th printing of Transformers Issue 1 came out, featuring Bumblebee's corpse drawn by Jason Howard. Fun for the whole family. Some people have taken issue with the shocking death of Bumblebee, and feel as though the Skybound team hates the character. And I don't think that's a completely wrong take. This comic cover is obviously meant to be some sort of dark joke, and in the clip, Johnson literally said B was killed because of his constant presence in other media, but the story itself greatly respects Bumblebee, and while the decision behind his death may have been a bit harsh, in story the loss of Bumblebee greatly affects Optimus, and it isn't ever played for cheap laughs. You can feel the weight of it, and it's a weight that gets heavier and heavier as more Autobots are killed. So if you don't like that Bumblebee was killed in such a brutal manner, I totally understand. But just know the writing does not come off as mean-spirited, and I promise when they finally give us Optimus and B's backstory, it will be fantastically tragic. Also, if you think this comic book cover is mean-spirited, I encourage you to look back at the action figures of literal corpses that we've looked at so far. This is Transformers culture right here. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm sure if you're a Transformers fan, you're wondering about the lack of IDW stuff, since that series is notorious for being brutal. I'm actually planning to make a follow-up video to this talking about all the brutal stuff in IDW, and I want to sit down and truly dig into the series before I do that, which is quite the undertaking. I also want to make sure a video like this can survive YouTube's weird standards, so in the meantime, feel free to drop your favorite dark IDW moments down below. I think I know a few of them already, but I'm always interested to know more. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and if you want to support me past that, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. Both give you access to the same thing, my exclusive Discord server where we have monthly movie nights. Our next movie night is the 1998 classic Blade, which we are watching April 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. EST. These movie nights have been a ton of fun, and Blade is the first movie in our pre-MCU Marvel movie watch-throughs. Side note, I am so excited to watch Ghost Rider with a bunch of people. Okay, y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.